Hey, welcome.
Hey,
everybody.
it's a you and a you.
Yeah, welcome to another Thursday evening. This is season 2, episode 42 of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists. We please ask that you please give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you have any questions for the carvers and our special guest. Let's meet the carvers. First, he's an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. He is a 29 champion of Food Network's Outrageous Pumpkins. Paul Dever, welcome.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday to you as well.
Oh, look at that.
Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network, Matt Harper.
Yeah. Happy Thursday.
Our guest tonight is an artist, sculptor, and a member of the DeviantArt Collective. You can find him live streaming daily on his Twitch channel, which he has 98,000 followers. Please welcome Christopher Notbusch.
Hello.
There he is.
Thank you.
There he
What's up,
is.
Chris?
How's it going?
How are you?
Oh, living the
doing?
dream.
That's right. I'm good. Had a nice full productive day and ready to take it easy.
Very good.
Oh, that's what you think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what I would consider taking it easy. So,
My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and chiming in from time to time.
Look at that guy.
Let's
Get a
check out our
headshot.
carves from last week's show. The carving subject was an enraged, shrunken head. And Paul, this is out dynamite.
Thanks.
looks
Thanks.
great.
It was that was a fun one. It was a fun one. Good to have Adam on and actually have it land on a shrunken head. So finally got something we wanted.
That
But
was
yeah,
beautiful.
Awesome.
it's a shrunken head. You know, it wasn't a very deep thought process, which was nice for a change.
Yeah, Paul, the thing I love about it, and like you've done stitching before on stuff, and it just the skin looks like it's pulled. It's fantastic.
Thank you, buddy.
Big fan.
Yeah, a little,
Were the ears cut and then attached?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
that would have been a lot of digging to get that.
Yeah,
out.
right. Exactly.
So Chris pulled over a lot of new followers from his Twitch channel. So maybe we should say like this is made from a butternut squash carved down. So maybe you want to explain it just a little bit more of maybe the process.
Sure. We take ribbon loops like you would if anybody's a sculptor, you know what a ribbon loop is. And we dig a lot. And we start with something like this. And if you guys stick around, we're going to show you why we had to carve what we carved. Each week is a new challenge. So we're going to introduce the fourth member of Carvers Creators in a minute that does the deciding for us. So, but Matt and I have to take this challenge. The guest does not. Totally up to them. But Matt and I every week have to take a challenge with some sort of perishable item because what we do is ephemeral. It's there and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. So 4 hours of my life gets flushed down the toilet weekly.
In the most beautiful way. Beautiful way.
Oh, the photos are fantastic.
Yes.
Have you guys ever carved a potato and then fried it and ate it? I've seen people do that before.
That's a great
No,
idea.
but Ray has. Ray's done that. He's made French fries out of them after. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It's on my list, Chris. All right, stop giving me stuff to do.
Oh, Matt killed
That's
it as
a
well.
good one. That is a good one.
I kind of went cartoony, and I had a really tall butternut like this one. I mean, just extremely long on the top. So I decided I was going to make hair, but make the bottom part the head. And the cool thing is, it was so wide, I didn't have to. I just cut the ears in. I didn't have to. I didn't have to glue them on. But that's pretty standard. Usually you're gluing something on, but this one was so thick, I didn't have to.
Yeah, and if you look, you always keep a portion of the stem, which I think is pretty cool. And you actually kept it at the top of the hair there.
Yeah, it's like poking out of the top, and that's this little tiny, the stem at the top. So if you just imagine all that just pulled away. And his little face down here, that's kind of what that would be.
So you were talking about stitches, man. Like the lip stitches are awesome, how it's pursed in between each stitch. You nailed it.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah.
just like it looks like it's like the third shrunken head in Adam's movie. You know what I mean? It fits right in that genre. It's in my top 5 for you.
Oh shit, Paul. All right, thank you. All
And
right.
you were like almost done by the end of the episode.
Right, exactly.
Hey, I put my foot on the gas on this one. Yeah.
You really did. I think you're on the juice.
I got to get tested.
You might have to, for multiple things.
Yes.
Well, I don't carve, but I do pixels and vectors. And yes, here is my offering tonight. The Enraged Shrunken Head was actually a real challenge. So,
tattoo.
So I started thinking, I started doing it, and then like the enraged part of it, because I'm just like, well, I mean, you have to have eye expression and you have to have like face expression, but most of the shrunken heads, they don't, are kind of emotionless. And so I definitely, when I started doing it, I'm like, oh, I gotta figure this out. I did like 3 of them. And then I'm just like, this is starting to look like an old Ema Sumac album. They used to have these like old albums on Capitol that were just kind of like the Tiki Revolution, what those are kind of based on. And this is looking kind of like one of those albums. So I kind of made it into it. I saw this picture of Carrot Top and I had to use it. So Carrot Top and his orchestra, the Shrunken Head album, the Enraged Shrunken Head album. So I don't know. So yeah, and there's a lot of my favorites in there. Billy Barty, Hervé Villechaize, and the great Eric the Actor for those comedy fans out there. Some of my favorite shrunken heads.
Well done.
Well, that's another album. That's another
really
album.
is. I'm telling you, Chris, do you play any instruments? I think we're putting a band together because we have album covers up the wazoo.
Yeah.
Yes.
I play 0 instruments and have the only person in the world that likes any of music that I make is my daughter. That's about it. So
That's all that really matters, honestly.
Yeah, but she's she doesn't know any better yet. So
that's good. And never let her learn any better. Just tell her dad's the best.
Yeah, right.
Well, Christopher, I'd like to introduce you to the 4th member of Carvers and Creators responsible for choosing our carving subject tonight. It is the Hollow Wheel, the Center Spinner, and as always, Paul will tell you more now.
Hello, children. Happy Thursday. Here we go again. So like I said, every week we are at the mercy of this silly thing, and this is the wheel. So we're going to spin it 2 times. The first time we spin it is going to be the subject of which we have to carve into a perishable item. Second spin will be the emotion that's a subject has to have. So our subjects tonight will be outer space, guest choice, so Chris, get ready, zombie, shrunken head, villain, ghoul, vampire, voluptuous, fantasy, or psychopathic. Second spin will be the emotion that is grizzled, stoned, euphoric, confused, bored, horny, terrified, enraged, giddy, or elated. Whew, every week that gets me like short of breath. All right, so here we go. Another week, another spin.
Come on, voluptuous.
Zombie.
Well, that's a
Zombie.
good one.
Come on. All right, here we go. Come on, horny zombie. A giddy zombie.
Giddy.
Okay.
Mm.
All
I
right.
just want to do that.
Oh boy.
This wheel
Wow.
sucks.
All right, Chris,
That's
you
kind
want
of
to jump in from what I'm hearing you saying. You want to do a giddy zombie right now, right?
Right, yeah, he was all about that.
That's
Yeah.
kind of that's a challenge. That's a good challenge right there.
Yeah, it's not the fun kind of challenge either. Where's all my bean bags?
This is the part, Christopher, where we start being really happy we have carving oil because and what Mickey's going to get into that in a second, but we always have our favorite carving oil, not only to loosen the joints and get ready to carve, but also put us out of our misery related to all this anxiety we now have because of the wheel.
Correct.
Okay.
100%.
So, Chris, what are you drinking tonight for your carving oil?
This is actually a jalapeno popper ale.
Whoa.
Not bad.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Spicy beer. It's made actually right in my hometown, Bent River Brewing Co. And then I also have some Weiss beer from Germany.
Is it Vice?
I usually only get 1 or 2 of these, the jalapenos. I wouldn't drink a whole 6-pack. So
Is it actually spicy?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Sweet
wow.
Jesus, I can do that.
I like it. I don't know. It's weird, but I like it.
Oof.
Gives you
Any
fire
quarters
bursts.
to 'em.
Yep.
Jalapeno poppers are an appetizer, so having one of those is like having an appetizer.
Exactly. Yeah. I typically, like I said, I usually get like one or two, and then something else for the rest.
Cool you down. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Matt, what do you got?
Okay, so yes, when we were at Monster Palooza a couple weeks ago, we went to the Stone Brewing.
Stone Brewing, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So I found a really cool one.
Oh, nice.
Kick-ass can from Stone. It's called I don't know. I can't read that.
The Buena Vista, I believe.
Buena Vista lager. It's like a Mexican lager with salt and lime in it. So it's not an IPA, but it's a cool ass can. So
yeah,
here we go.
I think you'll like that one a lot. It's not an IPA, so you'll love it. It's definitely like a salt and lime lager.
Okay,
you're in. You're in.
For me and the ladies.
Paul.
Yes, sir.
What hop delight do you have?
Oh, well, I went to the bullpen and brought in a ringer to close it out for me. I have an old favorite.
Cloud
there it is.
Cloud candy.
Yes.
Oh.
The double cloud candy from Mighty Squirrel in Mighty Waltham, Massachusetts. It is a 7.8, 1 PINT. I know it's very important. And then the double cloud candy is juiced up with big notes of mango, citrus, peach, and melon and papaya, and finishes luscious and smooth. Double up.
Oh, what do you know?
Nice.
Hashtag support us.
Love it.
Please, new sponsor. Please, God. Please. God.
Hashtag please sponsor.
So my beer tonight is the Viva Le Beaver. I think I've had this one on here before. This is from Belching Beaver.
Yes.
So this is a great one. It's a Mexican chocolate peanut butter stout.
Wow.
So not for the faint of heart, but delicious nonetheless.
Interesting.
Is that a spicy one too?
No, it's not spicy at all. It's more like creamy.
Huh.
You guys into drinking micheladas? I love me.
I like those. I like those.
It's usually it's like one beer, usually Modelo with tomato juice,
or Clamato,
and salt on the rim, and
that's a hard pass for me.
Oh, if they're cold, Paul, you'd like it. I promise.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah. I think Bloody Marys are like
authentic tacos, like a tall
enchilada. Yeah. But like, I don't know. You guys like Bloody Marys, then I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would rather get kicked in the face by a mule than have an actual Bloody Mary. All right, gross. Sorry, didn't mean to. That's how much I hate them.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Cheers
boys.
to all of our creations tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of our new watchers on Twitch. Thank you, Chris, for migrating everybody over so we could do this all for you. But
they had no choice; they had to come. I forced them.
Ready for the ride. All right.
The old virtual twist of the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Mandatory voluntary.
Hey, Mickey, since we got a lot of new folks, so if people watch us on YouTube and they subscribe and all that good stuff, which I don't see why you wouldn't. Of course, you can do that. You can ask questions live since we're live now, and Mick can bring them up. So if you've got questions for any of us or Christopher, you are welcome to throw them on as we carve or drink or both.
Yeah, wherever you're at, ask questions. We'll definitely try to get them on during the show. So we appreciate that. Now, you've been streaming for over 10 years on Twitch. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep, we did my 10-year streamiversary was in November, so I've been doing it for 10 years, and it was probably about 9 months it took me to get to partner, and that's when I quit my day job and became a full-time sculptor streamer.
Right on.
Wow.
Thankfully, I was very unsuccessful in my previous life, so it was really easy to make that choice. Like, well, the last job I ever worked, I was actually working at Best Buy, so it wasn't a bad job, but it's easy. It was easy to get to the point where I could see myself making at least the same amount, and so, and I didn't look back. I was like, worst case scenario, I just go get another job, but I never had to. So,
and 10 years have gone by. That's just an awesome thing.
Yep. 10 years.
I'll mention Paul and I always have these discussions with each other about because both of us have actual day jobs, and this is relegated to a really fun hobby, and we get to hang out with each other at cool shows and that kind of stuff. And anyway, but all of us have these dreams of doing what you did, and for it to be, getting the notoriety and the amazing work you do over these past 10 years. I'm sure it's not been all a cakewalk, but just to be doing it full time every day is just pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's a completely different lifestyle. Like nothing. There's no guaranteed paycheck. You're your own boss. So it's a very, we'll just say it's like a roller coaster ride. So
Sure.
And there's certainly sacrifices have to be made to kind of make it work. So
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to. Sorry, Mick. I just have one more. So when it comes to the support you get from Twitch and being, I guess you're sold to Twitch, right? Are you only on Twitch from a streaming service?
Right. So since I'm a partner, the way it works with Twitch, if you're a partner, like I couldn't live stream on Twitch and somewhere else at the same time. There's an exclusivity there, but I still, I'm actually trying to get it to the point where I'm pushing content elsewhere too, because it's not wise to put all your eggs in one basket, because God forbid if something happened to Twitch one day, I wouldn't want to be down and out completely. So
right.
You could just rename it the Chris.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
I'm joining us on Chris.
Like one thing I actually want to do is I want to possibly start streaming 1 day a week on YouTube and just start growing things over there slowly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's possibility, but it gets to the point. Like me and my wife actually work together on everything. Me and her. We actually met. I met her through my stream. She used to be a viewer.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
And she started off helping me with my photos because she's a film and motion design was her degree, film and motion design. So she's good with cameras and editing and all that stuff. So when she first found my stream, she just offered to help because my photos were terrible of my work, like out of focus, like some random sheet hanging in the background, just terrible. I had no passion whatsoever for taking photos. So so she couldn't live with that injustice because she saw my work on stream and then would see the photos, and it was like, so she started offering me help, and that's kind of how we got to know each other. So
It's dynamite.
And
that's a cool story.
Yeah. So she's from Germany, and that's why I have the German beer. But I can't remember what the question was at the beginning. Or
I think you answered it.
What even brought us down that tangent? I don't know.
That's the part of the show that's the best. We're gonna take you down some crazy tangents that we won't know where the hell we started or why we're where we are, but we're having.
Yeah. So what is your background? I mean, from your work, obviously you're super advanced, but are you formally trained or self-taught, or like how did you come to do all this?
I'm self-taught. Yeah. Nice. So I was first introduced to sculpting when I was about 10 years old. I was always into artwork and drawing, painting, all that stuff, but my grandma bought me this polymer clay character sculpting book when I was about 10 years old, and I really got into it. And I would actually get like clay, and I would just sit there and sculpt all these little heads, just kind of like that right there, over and over again, and it was just fun for me. And then it just kind of phased in and out of my life. When I got into high school is when I really kind of like concreted my desire for it, and I sculpted. I happened to be in a very specific situation where there's a new school built and we got transferred to that new school. So it was like brand new school, new art program and everything like that. Sure. And the head of the art department saw that I had like a higher, that I was further along with sculpting because I had practiced, when I was younger, and saw that I was passionate about it. So she actually allowed me to take any art class on the curriculum, but sculpt instead of doing whatever the normal projects were. So I really did a lot of sculpting. I think by the end of high school, I ended up doing like 32 separate art classes, all of which I did sculpting. And then, of course, you're 18 years old, and everybody's telling you got to go to college and get a job. And the idea of becoming a sculptor for a living was just as far-fetched as becoming like an actor or something. So
Right.
I was like, well, we got to figure something else out here. And so I stopped sculpting and I started pursuing, I was actually going for industrial design. That's what I was going to school for. But which is like product development and like drafting and almost like halfway between a designer and an engineer. And then I got about 2 years into that, and it just was not what I wanted at all, and it was costing a lot of money, so I stopped. And then it wasn't until then I was just kind of down and out. I only had a part-time job. I was trying to figure out what I was doing in life, and I started thinking of ways to make some extra money, because my dad always had side jobs, and he always said, always have some extra money coming from somewhere other than your day job. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, what can I do to make some extra cash? And the first thing I thought of was actually buying sets of minis, like Warhammer minis, and painting them. And so like buy a set for like $30, paint it, and then sell it for 60 and make like $30,
Right.
And I did that for a bit, and then just kind of having the little sculptures and the paints and all that stuff kind of really brought back that want for me to actually sculpt again. So I started, I bought some clay, and I just wanted to make a project just because. And I ended up sculpting a character from a game that I was beta testing at the time, which was StarCraft 2. And I created my favorite character from the game, and it was just sitting on my desk, and then it just, a light bulb one day was like, I wonder if I posted this on like eBay, because I was back then, that was like the only place you could sell stuff online was eBay. We're talking like 14 years ago. So I did. I posted up there for like $50, and it sold like the day I posted it. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I enjoyed doing that a lot more than the painting the minis. So I was like, okay. So then I created another StarCraft 2 different character and posted it for like $150, and that one sold like the first week that I posted too. So then there we go. I had my thing, and I stuck with just that very niche community, the StarCraft 2 universe, which is, it's just a game. I don't know if you guys know of the gaming world, but yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like a spacey game where there's like bug monster aliens, and then sophisticated aliens, and then humans in mech suits. And so I was always a fan of the bug alien types, and that's what I would make a lot of. And I would just post it on like forums and stuff like that, and I would just naturally get people that would want commissions, and that's when it started to turn into a commission type gig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, because before then I would just make what I want, and then I would try and sell it. But it's much easier to sell a commission than it is to sell something that you just made that hopefully you can find the right person for.
Right.
So I did that. I was probably doing that for about 3 years, and I was just grinding out work all the time, in my side time, and still working my day job. And there was actually a moment where I actually tried to. I was thinking I was doing well enough to survive off of my artwork, and this was before streaming. This is before even streaming. So I actually did quit my job and try to pursue it full time, and completely failed. Absolutely. I was like scraping by. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So then I got a job again, and then just kept doing it. Just kept, if you fall off the horse, just keep getting back on it. And then I had learned about streaming. The idea of streaming was just very new back then, and Twitch was very new, and I had learned about what Twitch was. And then I wanted to actually stream gameplay, which at the time when I started streaming, Twitch was just gameplay. It was just people playing games, people watching people play games. So I wanted to actually do that. So I saved up money, got a computer, got my streaming set up. But by the time I got it all set up, and I just couldn't get the stream going, because I'd have my day job work. I'd come home, I'd do my sculpting commission work, and then I'd just be so done, exhausted that I didn't even want to. So one day I just decided, well, what if I streamed my sculpting time? I wonder if people would even be interested in that. I didn't think people would actually. So, but I did it anyways. And I started streaming on Twitch, and it blew up pretty quick for me, because when you're the first one to do something on a platform or anything like that, it just very easily takes off because everyone, when they're scrolling through channels to find something to watch, and you see game, and then there's something that's not a game, it immediately just garnered attention. And so it wasn't until, so then the stream blew up and I had a lot of viewers all the time. And it was probably, like I said, probably about 9 months afterwards was when I got partnered. I applied for partnership and they partnered me. So
is it amount of viewers, or is it amount of view time, or how do they judge that?
It's a lot of variables. At the time, they weren't taking a lot of partners at all, so it was very hard to get. And I applied for it, and they sent me an email back saying that I didn't hit the numbers that they wanted. And so I was like, oh, okay, bummer. But then later that day, a bunch of Twitch staff came into my stream and said, "Oh, wow, this is crazy." You know, they didn't. I think they just looked at the numbers and then declined the request, but that didn't actually look at my channel. So they actually came into the channel and were like, "Hey, never mind that email you got this morning. You're partnered," and they partnered me on the spot. So,
no way.
Yeah, and then that's when I became the very first non-gaming partner on Twitch, and that kind of opened that door to creative and IRL and all that stuff. So, yeah. I used to get people coming into my channel and typing, "Oh, reporting you for non-gaming content," because I was
someone had I was just going to ask that as well. You know, how strict is that nowadays?
Well, okay, so the TOS, the terms of service, at the time actually said it had to be game-related content. So I got kind of wiggled past that by making game characters. You know, sculpting game characters. Then it's game-related, right? So. So yeah, and to be honest, it's like Twitch is very like if what you're doing is something that's good and it's beneficial and pretty kosher, then they're gonna be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? So they're not some like Borg. It's people. You're dealing with people. So
yeah.
But part of me was a little bit worried when I applied for partnership because I knew at that point I was probably coasting by under the radar and they just didn't know about me. But I knew as soon as I did that, well, now they're going to know about me. Right. And they could say, "Oh, hey, you don't belong in this platform. You need to go somewhere else," but that didn't happen, thankfully. So.
Wow. That's dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know you were a pioneer. We're talking to a pioneer.
Yeah,
we are.
I didn't know I was either until way later. So,
dynamite.
So looking at your work, it's definitely. I mean, you've been doing. How long have you been doing this type of work? Because it's like, I don't know what's the there's obviously an entry level if you're teaching yourself. What is? I mean, this is super elaborate, and it seems like you're spending like a lot of time on this. So when did you start going to these super elaborate types of works of art?
Well, it just kind of just slowly built and grew over time. What helped me kind of keep going and what helped me start was I was very cheap with my pricing on things, because I considered it as being paid to learn. And it started off just being kind of like I always liked the idea of just building characters, right? And then that kind of slowly grew into not just a character, but like a scenic base with it and telling a story. And it's just something that just, the improvement is constant. You're never done growing, or hopefully you're never done growing.
Right.
If you keep a student mentality, I think you can essentially grow forever. But when you're no longer open to learning, that's when you stop growing. So
right, when you think you got there, that's when
that's it. Yep. I mastered it. I'm done. And that's when you plateau, and you never get further than that. So I very much try to not have that mentality and always know that there's things I can improve on. So
I always remember hearing that the base of whatever you make your sculpture on is part of the sculpture. It is part of the art. So so when I look at this and see the quote base, which is amazing art, it just makes it even more of a story, just by looking at it. That's so is that what you were talking about, creating the base as whatever it was on as part of the art?
Well, I was never into the character just kind of standing there doing nothing, you know, because there's a lot of sculptures or collectibles of the character just standing there, not really telling a story at all, just looking like a cool character. And so I always wanted to push towards that, like almost like diorama type stuff, you know, combining sculpture with diorama, where you create like realistic scenes. And that's I mean, I really like doing that. I've done a few big pieces where it's like a whole scene with multiple characters interacting, like a freeze frame of that. But those are fewer and far in between, because you're talking a lot of time, which means they're very, very expensive. So to get something like that made. So
now, I'm sorry, you were talking about getting them made. So do you send your models out to be cast and reproduced?
Nope. No, everything I do is
in-house?
Yeah, no, I don't do any reproductions. It's all original works.
Oh,
so.
It's all one-offs, everything?
Yep, everything. Yeah.
Holy Moses. That drives up the value. Right on.
Well, and so the big game, I'd say that one of the biggest game changers in my workflow and the way I design my work is, I don't know if you guys have heard of this clay called Cos clay. It's
clay, yeah.
It's a new polymer clay that came out. As soon as I heard about it, I immediately contacted them, said, "Hey, look, you know, I need this in my life. You know, I need your stuff, you know," because I always wanted a material that would flex like rubber. Because I grew up with those, you know, the Spawn action figures made by Tony McFarlane, and they always had like belts and stuff on them, and they're like made out of rubber and like capes and stuff like that. So when it came out, I was like, oh man, I need this in my life, because I would have to engineer my packaging so much that things would survive the shipping, you know, but you'd always have stuff breaking and stuff all the time. So so let me show you here. This is actually one I was working on earlier, and you can see,
damn,
I forgot to save my twist. So see how much that flex is right
flexible.
there? Yeah, and then even these like leaves right here. So you can make like super thin, even the hair on the back there, you know. You couldn't do that and cast it, you know. You just can't.
Wow, that's dynamite, man. I love the expression on the face. Sculpting at a small scale is an art in itself. I'm always impressed by somebody that can sculpt at such a small scale with that kind of detail.
And then here's a tiki head, you guys. I don't know if you guys
saw that recently. My God, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like even these parts, you know, I just don't have to worry about any of it breaking, which really lets me just focus on the design and not really thinking about like engineering it in a way that it's going to actually survive shipping.
Wow.
You know?
Does it bake the same way as like a Sculpey?
Yep, exactly the same. So
wow. Hey.
It's
wow, that dog's the best sculpture I've ever seen.
It's lots of lifelike.
That cosplay really sells.
Yeah, that's Sadie. She's been with me all 10 years. So she's been full time. I got her as a puppy, like pretty much right when I became a full time streamer sculptor, and so me and her have been like, she's been my shadow for like 10 years because I've worked at home the whole time. So
that's so
also a Twitch partner.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't even know it.
She's a co-star.
So this is I like seeing the before and after type of thing. Now, you're doing your painting as well, correct?
Yes, and actually my wife helps me with the paint job. She actually did the paint job on this one, the tiki.
Well done.
So that was all her.
her.
Yeah. I think I went in, so like we each have obviously strengths and weaknesses, so we tend to just pass it back and forth until we get it the way we want. So like I went in on that one and like darkened the teeth a little bit more, and just some subtle changes, but yeah, the rest is all her. So
wow, you're like a married version of the Shiflett brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we got to get her onto the sculpting side, because right now, I mean, she's got just as much work as I do, like too much work. And because she takes care of like social media, photos, videos, editing, she makes really nice, like high quality videos, and then does all the stream overlay stuff and then painting, and also raising our 2-year-old daughter. So she's got a lot on her plate, but eventually we want to get to the point where she's also sculpting too. So,
but the crazy thing is, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say she needs a raise. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah. Well, because I agree with that 100%, because if you've seen his Instagram and you click through, there's a whole lot of videos, and every one of them, I'm like, oh my God, that's good. I mean, every part of it. Like we talked earlier about, like I used to be a bad photographer. I still am, and I never really got I know there's probably tutorials and all kinds of things to make pictures of produce better. But I get it. I take a picture, I make it good enough, and I move on. But the stuff you have from a video perspective, or even your stills, are just absolutely perfect. And it just look anyway. It just makes your art really, really stand out.
Well, you gotta think the people online, they don't see anything other than the photos and videos. You know what I'm saying? So you can spend all your creative energy on the piece, but if you don't also spend creative energy on the way you're showing it, then it's you're doing it disservice. You're not doing it justice. Right. So yeah, so definitely having her with that process helps an amazing amount, because like I said, I just don't have that same passion for taking photos. I remember I used to just always despise even the photo stage of the work. Like I just wanted to get back to the sculpting. So
yeah.
Carla had a question about the camera that you're using. Hi, Carla.
The shirt cam. So this is actually a harmonica holder with a Logitech Brio camera. It's one of the only 4K webcams you can get. So it's got really nice quality for a small package. And then I got two other cameras. The face cam, which you're looking through right now, that's an AverMedia camera, and then the Sadie camera, same thing, an AverMedia. So eventually we'd like to upgrade the two stationary cameras to like a DSLR to have like that quality we have on our Instagram on the stream. That's the ultimate goal, but we're talking boku bucks for those cameras. So
yep.
Time for pony up, it sounds like.
Right. Well, she finally convinced me of actually getting one that we use for our social media. For the longest time, I made her use her smartphone to take photos, and she was doing really good with that. And then finally convinced me that we need a good camera, and she was totally right. It's like the best, a really great investment. So, but you can find them like we got ours actually used from this company called like KEH.com or something like that. They sell like really like lightly used camera equipment, but like for way cheaper. And that's where we got ours. And it's pretty much just like brand new. So most people that buy that kind of equipment, they take good care of it. So it usually doesn't have like wear and tear, so.
Yeah. And a big shout out to Carla. She's we love her. She's been on our show, and we got to hang out with her at Monsterpalooza, but she was one who turned us on to you.
I was gonna ask you guys how you even heard about me or found me, because it's just interesting to hear how people do, So
you know what I mean? It's funny because Paul and I we found each other years ago, kind of because we're both in this little pumpkin world, right? And everyone who sculpts these things and kind of makes 3D art out of them follows each other. And then next thing you know, I'm following. Paul liked this guy. Well, who is this guy? No, I like dovetail on that and find other people that were really cool. Same way, like I started looking at like Carla's likes and stuff. I'm like, holy crap, look at this! And yeah, so she's like, you got to talk to Christopher. This is like right up. So anyway, it all came together perfectly. But it's such a cool, such an awesome community. To me, like we a couple years ago when we started this thing, we wouldn't be thinking we're sitting here talking to you, right? Let alone anyone related to some of the amazing artists that we like are just in awe of. So it's kind of been a really cool journey finding absolutely cool people behind the cool art that they make too.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for answering that question, Colleen. Yeah, that's the camera I use right there. So. And then we use a 50 millimeter lens. That's the one that you can get the really blurry background with the detail shot. So always like the look of that.
The depth of field. It's all about the lens.
Right. Yeah. Camera body. You can actually get a real cheap camera body and spend a lot of money on the lens and get good stuff. So it is all about the lenses. So
because I have a Canon 60D. I spent a lot of money on it. I don't even use it anymore, but the lens is what it was all about.
Yeah.
Is that what you had at Monsterpalooza?
No, I didn't even bring that one. That was a vlogging camera from Canon. So like that's another lens that allows you to turn it on yourself, but still get a lot of the background and the depth of field as well. So that's another Canon camera.
Right, because I think the one that I use for this camera is like the one you had at Montpellier. It's a Canon. I am like the opposite of a camera person.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, look, it works.
I've been looking at there's these Sony camera bodies that are like perfect for streaming. I can't remember the exact name of them. They came out like a couple years ago actually,
Right.
but they're still the best streaming DSLR camera. So I'm probably gonna be looking at that's what I want to save up to upgrade definitely for the other stuff.
Those are the ones that compare with the Canon vlogging cameras as well.
Mhm.
I remember those.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta ask you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it, Matt.
No, I was just gonna ramble about more camera stuff. We're all about sculpting here.
Cameras are fascinating. We all love it. However, I got to know about like the scale you decided carving or sculpting, because when it comes to I've seen stuff that you do that's relatively small, but then some larger stuff too. I mean, like I think your Gimli is pretty big sized, if I recall.
It's like half scale. Yeah.
Half scale, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So are you do you, when you get a commission, for instance, for a Gimli or a Baldur's Gate guy or any, are you at that point deciding what kind of scale to do? Because it seems to me like, I mean, the faces you do in any scale seem to be perfect. And I just, what's the largest thing you've sculpted?
The largest thing I did was there's probably two. One was there's this dragon I actually made for Colleen. It was like 26 inches tall. Actually, I can show you guys real quick here.
Sweet.
We can go to my BRB reel. Hold on, let me pick it out. And where's the video?
Boy, we gotta have more guests on that have their own reel ready to go
And their own logo. Look at that, Christopher. Look at that logo.
We're fast forwarding here. Oh, my mouse is being finicky. All right, this is the dragon unpainted here. Let's wait here. That was another character. That was an original character. That one. This one right here. So this one, I think it was about 26 inches tall, and just massive piece.
Wow! Yeah, look at the wings. Wow.
Now I didn't intend for it to be that big. What I did is I had to learn a lesson, which is if you're making multiple characters, make the biggest thing first, because I ended up making, there's a second character that goes with this that's like a normal size, what my normal scale is, type elf that stands in front. And I made her first. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I have to make the dragon really big to match, the other character that I made. So,
oh my
God. So a lot of it has to do with, so usually if a client isn't specific about what scale they want, then hold on one second, I got the wrong window open here. If they're not specific about what scale they want, then I kind of do my standard scale, which you can kind of tell is like 1/5 or 1/6 scale. I don't really work in scale. I just work on really size, like 10 to 12 inch range is typical. Sometimes they go a little bit taller, or and so unless they specify that they want a different scale, then that's kind of what it is. And then when people want a character, they come to me and say, "Hey, I want this character." I offer them different, like compositions associated with different prices, so that way go all the way from lower budget to higher budget. So the highest being like full character, full body character in my normal scale with the scenic base, LED lights, all that stuff would be like the top. And then you could go down to like just the character, no scenic base. Then you could go to like just a bust of the character, or what I call a wall hanger, which is the wall hanging pieces like this. And they tend to be around that same size. Except Gimli, again, a miscalculation. I sculpted Gimli's face at this size, but then realized his beard is actually like two of his head sizes bigger. So I had to make it bigger. So it's one of those just miscalculations. But hey, most clients, they are not going to complain if they get a bigger piece than what they paid for, essentially. So that's fantastic. It always works out. But yeah, I noticed with myself, I cannot like limit my level of detail or quality, like say somebody wanted like a full-size character, but they wanted it at a cheaper budget. Well, you'd have to eliminate detail and texture to make it fit that. And I just know myself what would happen is I would take the commission for this lower detailed version, and then I would do the full detail anyways, because that's just how I am. You know,
you have to, right?
So instead of limiting that, I just limit the composition, the canvas size and stuff. You know? So
okay.
I feel like clients probably don't know that you put all that detail in, and if you take it out, it's not going to look like the full product.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Or it's because it is all the small things come together to make that final sculpture look. You know. So if I was starting, and then also here's the thing too, that this is why I've always had this kind of policy, is because if I made say I had a lower budget piece and I made it with less detail, then I posted it on social media, people would think that is your level. Right. They don't see what's going on behind the scenes, how much you get.
They don't know how much you got paid for that. Yeah.
They just see your work and they just assume it's your best work, you know. Yeah. And so I've always like just limit composition, because I just know I'm always going to push it as far as I can, as far as detail. And stuff.
Which also brings up another point, that you have to be careful of what you show as well, and at what stage. I mean, I noticed that you show stuff at different stages. And do you ever get like mistaken, like something's finished, or that you're still working on it, or do people comment on that?
I've never had anybody not understand that it's a work in progress. I think because the way we shoot it, you can like see wire and stuff like that hanging out if it's a work in progress. And then of course, if it gets closer to the end where it almost looks finished, we'll wait until it's a finished sculpt that's unpainted. Because we do two main documentation, which is we document it when it's unpainted to see the unpainted version, and then after the paint to see the full version. So and then of course the other shots is she comes into the workshop on Sunday, which is one of the, well, it used to be a non-streaming day, now I stream on Sundays, but she comes in here, takes photos of all the week's progress, if it's worth showing, if there was enough of progress that went on, and then she just kind of sets up content essentially for the whole week, like plans it all out in the system, so it just automatically posts that's just kind of how we do. That's kind of how we do things here.
She's got it dialed in. When it comes to like how long a piece takes, because like you'll get, it sounds like you have multiple commissions working at any given time, and you'll start kind of working on one. I mean, if someone commissioned you a mid-sized piece, whatever, that's completely done, is that a couple of months, or is, not to put you on the spot, but is that what's
like, let's just say a standard full size one character piece is 180 hours of work somewhere in there. So
wow.
So the way I break up my schedule is I actually have a project for each day of the week, Monday through Friday. Well, I guess Sunday through Friday now, and that just helps me. It helps me stay. When you start a new project, you're all like super excited, and you could like stay up till 2 a.m. working on it.
Sure.
Well, if we just work on one project, we tend to burn through that like very quickly, and then you do an awesome job on the beginning, and it just like the quality starts to taper off towards the end, where you're just trying to get it finished.
Good point.
I learned by actually splitting it up and only having 1 day a week per project. You almost have that instead of like sprinting at the beginning, you have that consistent energy all the way through the project. So even to the finishing stages, because I'm not sitting there grinding on it day in and day out, so I'm almost excited each day, because I was like, I get to work on that one again or that one again. And it just,
that's so interesting. So Paul and I'd say we have a parallel. So once you start carving into one of these things, your clock's ticking, and you have, literally this thing starting to rot. So we have, we can maximum get, 8 hours out of one piece. And even then it's, it might be overkill.
So go downhill from there.
Yeah, it does. And especially if it's out the whole time, but you have little tricks of the trade, like your spray bottle to keep it kind of moist, because it's food, don't forget. But at the same time, I think Paul and I have learned something through doing this show is typically we would, try that if you do one in one sitting, it can be done and you get it and they can be fine. But what we found is we finish the show, we get that about halfway done, and then come back at it. later, put it in the fridge, put it on water, keep it, fresh effectively. And then you come back a day or so later and you put a whole new set of eyes on it. And it's like refining. You're like, oh my God, why was I going this direction? This is the way to go. And it ends up being a much better piece, because of that.
Exactly. Yep. I try to not, so like I'll push things to the point where they're ready to be baked, like a section's done. I try to actually not bake it immediately, but actually set it down to the side. So then I can look at it again later, and I'll always be like, oh, this needs a little bit of a change, actually. So, and the biggest thing the fresh eyes effect helps with is doing likenesses. When you're trying to make it look like a specific person, you get so like, I don't know, it's just, you get into this zone where you just can't tell if it looks like it or not, and what's wrong and why. You just can't. And so, but if you set it down and go outside for like, 20 minutes and come back inside, it's like, oh, you see it clearly. Oh, the eyebrows are in the wrong spot.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. You got to use that. You got to use that to your advantage. So I remember I did this bigger piece there's this big streamer on Twitch called Summit1G. He plays games and stuff like that. And Twitch commissioned me to make a piece that had him in it. And I remember the way I really nailed his likeness like 100%. And the way I did it was I only worked on it for like in 45-minute sections, and then would take like an hour away from it. And then just working on it in those little chunks really kept things like getting refined and into the because always, if I sit there and I work on it for like 4 hours, you probably end up wasting like 2 hours where you're just not really making any progress because you just can't really see what's going on. So it's more efficient. It seems like counterintuitive, but it's actually more efficient to work on it in shorter amount of times and take more breaks than it is to just grind through it, because it just doesn't work that way. Specifically with likenesses. So,
and at the end of the day, you could work on it for 20 years if you wanted to. You'll always find something that you want to change just a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to pull the pin at some point and say, this is where it needs to be.
Exactly. So, well, it's the understanding that your next work is always going to be your best work. So
always.
Yeah. So you can't expect to make your best work now. You just got to get it to the point where you're happy with it and move on. And
and abandon it.
Right. Exactly.
Why? I don't know if I've ever been truly happy with my work. But I think it's because it rots. We don't have and we're working subtractive. So any decision that we make that's it.
Or any happy accident, you just have to roll with it.
So. Yeah. Everything I've ever done is a happy accident. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that worked. No, it's exactly how I dreamt it in my head. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Have you guys ever picked up the clay and tried kind of like doing the same thing? Like I can see you guys doing the same like wall hanger formats that I do. It makes like this almost the same kind of shape and feel of what you're doing right there. It'd be interesting to see.
We did it for Monster Palooza. They asked us to replicate pumpkins that we had. So Matt and I we made pumpkins out of monster clay and then used the same tools and carved into them instead of building up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, there you go. So, is that foam on the inside or something?
It's actually an igloo cooler that you would bring to a soccer game. And give it
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll tell you, it's a lot harder than a butternut squash when monster clay medium cools.
Yeah, definitely.
But I make this to try cosplay now. After what you said, I mean, it seems like it's a really fun medium.
It is, yeah, and so I mean, probably the biggest thing that defines the way I work. So all polymer clay, when it's cured, becomes vinyl plastic, and you can bake the clay as many times as you want. So that means
what?
You can bake it multiple times. I work in phases, so you can build your kind of like your understructure, like a sketch of the character, bake it, and then start going into each little section, like start the boot, like sculpt the boot, full detail, bake the whole thing again, and then wash, rinse, repeat, and build the whole character just like one little section at a time. So that way you're not trying to, it makes it more comfortable to work on your pieces because you're not worrying about messing up parts you've already done, because it's like hitting the save button essentially. So
Wow.
And it doesn't burn up in the oven if it goes in again, huh?
no.
Wow.
It will only be an issue if you baked it at a higher temperature, which you shouldn't anyway. Like if it hits 350 degrees Fahrenheit, vinyl will burn, and that's when you run into problems. But as long as it never hits it, because you bake it at 275 for like 30 minutes, and then it's good. It's locked in. So,
Wow.
like I'll give you guys an example. So
Yeah.
this
I've got a bunch of it too.
You got some of that, Paul?
Yeah. As soon as it came out, I bought a bunch of it, and then we started doing the show, and I haven't been able to do it since. See, now I would love to attempt something as awesome as that.
Holy crap.
So this right here, I did this all in one run on the body, but this is all hardened. I baked it after that, and then the head is what I was working on next. So then after the head's done, I'll bake it all again, work on this area up here. And then, it just makes it really comfortable to work on, because you can actually touch and hold on and keep your hands close. And
Right.
Yeah.
You're not gonna distort it because it's baked. It's like, oh wow, okay.
Right. Yeah, it's locked in. So I do that, and normally I break it up into more sections. This time I was pushing how far I could go before it started getting uncomfortable. So so I ended up doing the whole body. But even like the underbelly, see under here, there's no detail up there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it from the base and then do all that in a separate layer. So,
wow.
Do you ever forget what's baked and what's not?
No, you can pretty much. Actually, the clay has a little bit of a shininess to it when it's uncured, and when it gets cured, it gets like matte finish. So
It's dynamite. I got to try it.
Yeah, so that was like, once I kind of learned to exploit that property of the clay, that's when things started to get more detailed in my work, because you can just push the details much further if you're just focusing on that little section. You can just push things further without messing it up. So
that's tremendous.
Oh, I can mess anything up at any level.
Yeah.
I'm good at that too.
If you made it, you can fix it. It's just the way it is. So yeah, you can always add, you can always remove. So
well, that's how we're locked in here. That's kind of
exactly
what we've gotten used to.
Yeah, because even with the clay, even if you bake it and then there's a part you don't like or it's too big or something, you can still carve it with like a knife or with
get rid of it. Yeah,
with a Dremel tool or something.
So Mick, I know we're close. I think we're at almost an hour. I mean, I know we got a million things to show everybody that that isn't already a huge fan of his. But I don't know if you wanted to look at that. I mean, like this kind of stuff. I'm like,
that's so cool.
I'm drawn to the paint as much as I am the sculpt. It is just so well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I used the airbrush on that one for the eye makeup effect. Like that purple around the eyes. So. I've been trying to work more airbrush into my workflow and get more comfortable with it, because it does certain things just ridiculously fast, like getting those super subtle gradients and stuff like that. So
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And when
I
look at these, I'm just blown
work.
away by like the detail of it, so like I think that I saw there was one that, I mean, like it was some crazy number, like 180 hours you had spent on it or something like that. Is that pretty typical, or is that
yeah, for these full size characters that have the scenic base, yeah, about 160 180 hours is pretty average. Yeah, but like for example, I think this one, like the Tiki guy, I made him in, I think it was just one stream, so like one day, or so
10-hour
8 hours. Yeah, 8 or 10 hours. Yeah. But then the missus painted it. So yeah, in that time, and that probably took her like a day or a day and a half to paint.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy. There's when I start looking at these, I mean, they look different from different angles as well. Like there's so much detail and greatness to this. So are these like for instance, like we spun a wheel today to get the carves. Like are you spinning a wheel in your mind like when you come up with these, or is it anything planned?
Well, it's a so it's a commission, of course. So if they want something very specific, like a specific character, there's always holes that needs to be filled by me. Like usually they don't have like a pose or anything like that picked out, or a story or anything like that. So I kind of come up with that just as I go. And I always think the best ideas come to you like as you're working on something.
Oh yeah.
So I always try to take advantage of those ideas, you know, because sometimes I find like some people, they'll like sketch out their entire piece like in full detail before they even start working on it. And then if you're just clinging on to that too much, I think you miss out on those opportunities of you can make it better, because you're going to come up with the good ideas along the way, you know. You can't sit there and just crunch out all the good ideas at the beginning and then start working on it, you know. So
right. Well, it's like you were saying earlier about happy accidents. Because he and I can't start with reference as part of the challenge, you're making it up as you go, and you might just scrape away a little line, and all of a sudden you see a wrinkle.
Yeah, right.
Or now you see like, oh, maybe the expression could be this or that. So the process is half the fun.
Right.
Being locked into maquettes and stuff is, or sketches is sometimes beneficial if you want to be really good, but
well, it's also like it's just like following it's like a breadcrumb trail of ideas,
right?
And you know, like while you're working on something, you're talking many hours where you're working on it and you're also thinking about it. So you're just spending more time coming up with those ideas. It's just more of a natural flow to it than, you know, trying to force out good ideas, you know. So
yeah.
There's the dragon that I showed you guys earlier in the full. So I made that elf character first, and then I realized, oh man, I should have probably made her smaller, because now I gotta make this giant dragon. So I made the big dragon and then learned, okay, next time there's a multi-character piece, do the biggest one first. So so that way you know how big the whole piece will be when it's done. So
and then when I showed the back end, I mean, like it just gets even more elaborate on the back end.
Yeah. And those wings they're massive wings, all made out of cosplay, so they have a lot of flexibility to them. So shipping stuff like that, that was the biggest thing, is like it's just a nightmare to ship work before I use cosplay. Now I can confidently, the postman can do whatever he wants to the box, gonna make it there and be fine.
It's gonna be fine. Yeah,
right.
And I guess paint, like any kind of thing, it adheres. I mean, do you worry about getting it scuffed up, or does it travel well from a paint perspective?
Yeah, so I use Reaper Miniatures paints, which is very good quality and like really clings onto the surface. And then the clay itself is very, it like accepts paint very well. So it's like very porous. So the paint just kind of like goes right in and sticks to it. It's not like painting resin, where resin the paint does not want to stick to. So
right.
Yeah.
I see that piece comes apart. I saw that note.
Yep.
Okay.
So the wing, both the wings come off, the coffin on the back and the pile of skulls up there all comes off, and then the elf character comes off as well. So they're all separated. So
you know what I love about it? It tells an amazing story about the pile of skulls and the coffin and everything else. So do you formulate? Because we've spoken with so many great artists who have that ability to kind of create a whole story around it and behind it, to the point where they're naming things and have a whole backstory. And do you go that deep and like have, or is it this would be really cool in this one and just kind of leave it to the interpretation of whoever buys it? Or
sometimes. So when I do like original characters, usually a backstory gets developed. So and like I let that backstory develop during the creation process in the same manner, because when you're designing something, all you're doing is asking questions about like, what does the character do? Where does he go? Why does he do that? And answering those questions helps you make decisions on what things he should have, or like stuff like that. So there's this character called the Bachmera, which is like a spin-off of a chimera from D&D universe. And we actually created like a whole like feature length film. It's not feature length, but it's like a whole film that talks about the backstory. It's like this old. We hired this voice actor to like be the wizard voice narrating, and used a bunch of like stock footage and told this whole elaborate story. Even hired a story writer to like take my words and make them more fancy, you know. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool. That's on my YouTube page. You guys could check that out anytime. It's a fun watch, I think.
So when when Disney comes calling, or or I guess A24, the right studio comes knocking, you're like,
Right.
all right, I got the whole story built.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I got to plug in my headphones. That's the piece I was talking about for that popular streamer. So you can see the character on the backside, or the one where the photo is darker. That's his face right there on there. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I made it.
Did you get to meet him? Or did you deliver it to him, or have some kind of a ceremony where you're presenting it?
No,
or how did that work out?
No, but so I sent it to him, just like Twitch had asked me to, and then he did an unboxing on his stream, and we just had tons of people coming over because this guy gets like 30,000 live views at one giving moment. So there's just a ton of people that came over just from that naturally. So
nice.
You know. And then I was streaming while it happened too, and like watching his stream on my stream. So
it's a big stream.
Mm-hmm.
Big stream of people.
So cool. And then like again, I you're a wealth of your portfolio is like so vast, and it was hard to pull still pictures only because you have so much video. So
yeah.
But I mean that's a good problem to have. But
right.
But I noticed like everything I was going through. I mean, like the level of detail, the creativity. I mean, even the stuff that obviously is focusing on this project itself, but there's like stuff behind it. And when I was looking at this piece right here, I'm like, oh my gosh, like tackling feathers alone, but then a whole bunch of feathers and a wing. And it's like it's crazy. Like how long did something like this take?
Yeah, it's the same amount of time as because I mean that character has the feathers, which do take a lot of time, but there's not a lot of texture going on the body, so it kind of balances out,
Okay.
Like or something that's like scaled, because I do every single scale, definitely takes more time. It's all about surface area too. So like that wing there, I sculpted each one of those feathers individually and then attached it all at the end. So like I take like a piece of wood like this and I put the clay on the piece of wood and texture it right on there and then bake it and then peel it off the wood, so that way you can get that really nice detail and you can hold it real easily. And trying to do it on the character is just that's like you never want to do that. You always want to make things handheld and separated if you can, and only do things actually on the character when you have to. So,
and I wonder, is it like kind of freeing knowing that this is going to not have to be molded or cast? This is, I mean, because when it comes to like, because I think people when they're sculpting things that are going to be cast and molded, they have to think about where to take it apart and where the cast lines are going to be and what material you mold it out of.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that at all. And honestly, there's a lot of things I do that you just cannot mold and cast. It's just like a molding casting nightmare. So like for example, those feathers, there's literally space all the way up underneath them into each individual layer. That'd just be an absolute nightmare to pour silicone on. Yeah,
it would never work. Yeah,
it would never come out. And then. So not having to worry about that is nice, and I think it's also freeing from a design perspective because your design isn't limited by molding and casting.
Right.
I don't care who you are. If you're designing a piece that is going to be produced, especially if you have to produce it yourself, it's going to affect your design.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
That was one. That was an original that had a pretty good backstory. Nice. So this client had no idea whatsoever, just wanted a sculpture from me. So I got complete free reign. And so I wanted to create this. This is a giant that actually builds. He's a giant that died that this wizard got the corpse of and reanimated into kind of like this flesh golem factory, and he's got the arm with like a bunch of smaller zombie arms, and he actually builds siege equipment. So the evil wizard it guards the like basement of his lair, and then he sells all the siege equipment to all the other neighboring kingdoms for them to wage war on each other. So,
oh my god,
that's kind of the story we came up with that guy. So,
That's a good one.
do you spend a lot of time with? I mean, because this takes not only a lot of time knowing what siege equipment looks like and how it mechanized and works and rope and all those things. Do you spend a lot of time kind of researching this stuff?
Yeah. So like as you make decisions on the project, you search for reference each step of the way, so you always use reference, because even if you think you know what things look like, you don't really know, and you don't actually learn what something looks like until you use the reference to see what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? So even stuff that I know how to do or I've done before, I'll still pull up reference and have it there, because there's always little like adjustments or things you could do a little bit better, or maybe you just didn't recognize a certain texture that's there, and then you start using it. So I always push people to use reference. It's just going to make your work better than it would be without it. So not that you can't make good work without reference, it's just going to be even better with it. So
correct. That's why we don't use reference. We just don't want to take the pumpkin carving world over.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Part of the challenge when we do commissions, when it gets close to Halloween, we use reference when we want to do big pieces. But for the specific nature of the show, it's to get people involved in creating right off the bat.
And when I do like my wall hanger pieces, especially for like the giveaways where there's no pressure of like client and stuff like that, I won't use reference for that either. So
nice.
Unless there's something specifically on the piece that I decide I want to do that I don't really know how it looks, then I'll pull some stuff up. But yeah, this is the character that I was talking about, the Bachmera. So his backstory, the quick rundown is the backstory of a chimera in the D&D world is that it was this abomination created by this like demonic entity that just came into our plane of existence, and then didn't like how the creatures were looking, so he made his own like monster essentially. Well, my idea was a spin-off of that he made a mistake at the beginning and created this guy who's like not really a monster. He's got the 3 heads like the chimera does, but he's more of like a swindler type, somebody you could actually talk to type of character. So he kind of roams around the world trying to swindle adventurers and to get, because he still has the same desires as a chimera, which one of the heads of a chimera is a dragon. So they have a desire for like treasure and stuff like that. But he just has no fighting or muscle to go get the treasure himself. So he uses his wits to kind of trick people into getting things for him. So
oh my god, what a cool story.
Yeah, you can see he's holding one of the hands. He's holding a coin up that he just found on the ground. So
I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now was that fully painted, and that belongs to a collector?
Yep. Yeah, that's fully painted. That one wasn't a commission, so I ended up selling it afterwards. But yeah, it is owned by someone from our community. So, and it came with a crazy scenic base. It's got a scenic base with like he's standing up on top of a hill, and then when you turn it around, there's actually a treasure trove, like an underwater cavern treasure trove underneath him. And so it's like he's like standing on top of the biggest treasure of his life, but he has no idea it's there. All he sees is that one coin that he found on the ground. Awesome. He's probably going to continue on and never find the treasure.
Yeah, never turn back, never look back.
Yeah, right.
That's great.
That's awesome. The story there.
And this was a more recent one, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that was a commission. That's an interesting commission. Those are an original. The commission was for a king and a queen card. And it just in my own style, whatever I wanted to do with that. And so it's a flat kind of like relief sculpture of a king. I went with this kind of like good king, bad king kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then the queens, I'm going to do the same thing. And I actually have, there's the beginning of the queens there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's just going to be a queen and a king card that all go together. So I work on this one on Sunday. So I started off with this just kind of like, this is a baked piece of clay here. And then I stenciled in the shape of like a typical bicycle card. And then I'm just filling it in with different, with the different characters. So,
wow.
Yeah. That's a fun one. It's always, I love doing commission work because it pushes you in directions you probably would have never went on your own, you know. So,
Sure.
yeah.
So that's so cool. I mean, you're self-taught, so you know how to do perspective and bas relief. Being self-taught, it's a pretty big catalog of talents, man.
No, thank you.
Very cool.
Just lots of practice.
I just gotta go. I should have gone to your high school. That's what I'm kind of coming down.
Yeah.
Well, I went to your art teacher, honestly.
It gave me a good foundation and a passion, but honestly, the majority of the learning I did is in my adult life. You know, because when you're pursuing things as an adult, a skill or whatever, you're way more focused, and it's just completely different than when you're younger.
Serious about it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You take it seriously. You probably have a little bit of money to throw at getting tools and stuff like that. So it's just a very different pursuit. So, yeah, I mean, I think we did the math, and just my streamed hours alone, I'm over 200,000 hours of sculpting.
Jeez.
So,
oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and you only need 10,000, right?
Right. That's what they say. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 200,000 is more than that, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you sure?
Maybe actually no, not 200,000. It was just over 20,000, I think, because it was double whatever they say to hit the master level is 10,000. Yeah, so 20,000. Yeah. Okay. So 200,000. Yeah, maybe when I'm 80. So.
That's a lot. I'm really bad at math and like calculating vehicles of weights of vehicles. I'm like, how much is that? 50,000
fluid ounces.
If it's one thing we always say about Matt is don't let him weigh your car.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason. Yeah. It's a thing now. Yeah.
Well, while we're at it, why don't we go around and see? Well, Paul, obviously I have yours up. So.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
Yeah, we're at that point of the show where we're going to do some reviews.
Well, he's got kind of a cool shape to him. I don't know how he's probably going to be tilted. But he's got to be giddy, so I haven't gotten to the zombie part yet. I'm just sort of trying to incorporate. It's got this bend to it, so
it is cool.
Pull everything this way. I think it's completely solid. There's no seed cavity in it, so yeah, I'm gonna be able to push real far on this. It's gonna get real skinny. I'm gonna really emaciate it.
Bring out those cheekbones.
Yeah, bring out the cheekbones. Get rid of some of these teeth, or really dog them up. Yeah, it's gonna be skinny. As long as I don't bust into it, I'm gonna make this thing basically a skeleton with a butternut skin. But again, no, I'm not gonna use any reference, so it's gonna go wherever the carving tool takes me. So,
nice.
Could end badly, could end nicely. I don't know.
And the carving oil as well.
Yes. But tonight is the carving oil, and then when we put it on ice for a day or two, and then come back with fresh eyes, 60% of the time I'm sober every time.
Yeah,
60% of the time. Okay,
partially,
just like sex.
All right, so mine's more of a mess at this point, but see if you can kind of get a sense.
Oh wow,
the teeth are rendered really well, so that's good.
So yeah, well, this guy's got a big like seed cavity here, and I wanted to make his head. He'll be pretty cartoony. So if it can get some, is that working here? Okay. But just to give you kind of an idea, so I'm starting to F with it probably more than I should when it comes to like what the nose and eyes are going to look like. But I wanted to make him giddy, so he's got a huge, crazy ass smile. And what I'm thinking of doing down here is severing it and having like his spinal column hanging down and some.
Okay.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Some pieces of neck and stuff like that, all just kind of flopping down. So he's giddy but decapitated.
Is it going to be like on a stand, or is it like going to be like on the table, like kind of at a 90-degree angle?
Well, I might not. That's a good point. Depending on what's inside here, this is pretty solid too, like Paul. So I think I may be able to get all the way through. And when I make that spinal column like hanging out of his neck, I might have to like, because there's a stem. I might have to like put some kind of thing behind it so it stands up.
You have an armature stand, or like you can use a flange.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah,
a flange and like maybe a 1/2-inch piece of black iron or something might be small enough to get in there. Threaded black iron, you could prop it right up. You wouldn't even be able to see it.
Yeah.
Or if you have an armature, you can poke the armature in from the back of the top. So that
and then just stick it from right
here.
Here.
Just core out the top, slide it on. It'll hang. It'll free float.
Yeah.
Or you could lay another squash on its side and then drill a hole and then sculpt a body or shoulder line at least.
I have
but then it wouldn't be severed. So
we have
I have enough butternuts. Yeah, I have enough butternut squash. I can make a whole body. At this point.
Yeah, that's one of the bylaws. We can't use another butternut squash to hold up the current butternut squash.
Oh, okay.
Article A, Section B.
That's true.
That's the fun of this. We all get to collab on this.
That's where the good ideas come from. Is everybody looking a fresh set of eyes on your stuff? You know.
So I see you have. It's kind of like a pillow filled with sand. Is that what that is? That stand that you use?
It's actually a cornhole bag.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah,
that's pretty. I started
adjustable. So
it works perfect for what we're doing because they're never. I mean, it's very rare that you get one that
stands.
Yeah, it's got to be that size. The moment they get top heavy, they just want to fall over. So
it's always funny seeing these because one of my other passions in life is gardening. I have a very, very big vegetable garden. So I grow all kinds of squash back there, pumpkins and I grow my own birdhouse gourds and turn those into like all kinds of different things.
Those are the giant ones, right?
Let me go grab one.
Don't they turn them into musical instruments too?
Well, they get a very, very hard exterior.
Those are them.
Yeah. So, and they used to be used for like water bottles and stuff, but you can hear.
They grow those out here and there's
So I grew these last season, and all I did was just leave them out there all winter, and then they turn into this. You cut them open, turn them into birdhouses, or I kind of want to make some like medieval looking wine jugs, with like the rope wrapping around them and stuff like that. I think it's pretty cool. So.
I'd be in the market. I might be in the market for one of those. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah. The way they used to do it is they'd cut the top off and then they'd take beeswax and after they cleaned out the inside, they'd pour beeswax in there, swirl it around, and then you had yourself a waterproof drinking vessel. So.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go back in time.
There is a question. And I think that we talked about it earlier. I mean, like you stream like over 10 hours a day, correct?
Yep.
So would that be a consistency, a routine that you do every? I mean, obviously it's not overnight. It's a lot of hard work to be an overnight success. So
I get this question a lot. Overnight success really isn't a thing. It's something you're building up. It's like a 10-year overnight success. And what it is to gain a following, you first have to have something to bring to the table. So your first objective should be, I need to grow my skills. Because if you do grow your skills to a point, you will naturally, generate a following if you have something interesting for people to look at. It's just going to happen. So you get that first, focus on that. And then, yes, the key is consistency. Human beings are creatures of routine and habit. And if you're there and you're consistently there, people will keep coming back and they'll put you into their routine, essentially. From a streaming perspective, I know a lot of people, I'm part of their daily routine because they work and then they turn on the stream and watch during their work. And it's just a part of their day in and day out thing. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. I was never always this organized and consistent. There was definitely a chaotic time in my career, when I was younger and more foolish. And so I've seen both ends of the spectrum. And I can tell you for a fact, having a schedule and having a routine is the way to go. And there's a reason why all the businesses of the world have work schedules and routines and all that stuff. It's because it's effective. That's why. So
This is our 91st show, like over 2 years. Yes. So we definitely can attest to that as well. And it's definitely about consistency. Whenever we have a Wednesday show, just because of scheduling or our guest or whatever, it definitely affects what we do. People will still watch, but it still affects that consistency. We take breaks right before the carving season of fall and everything. So, but again, it's about communicating with your audience and getting all that as well. So, I'm sure that you have that very well. Obviously, that you have a lot of people here that have followed you and even to here, doing this thing outside of it. So communication, I think, is vital as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the hardest things to do from the social media side of things is getting people to cross platforms, like getting people from Instagram to come to Twitch, or getting people from Twitch to go to here. If for some reason it's just something people don't like to do, so it's always hard. It's always a challenge to do that. So
yeah, exactly.
Do you take vacations at all? I mean, you got a wife and a baby, and I mean, you seem to be doing this 6 days a week?
Yeah. I haven't taken a vacation since I flew out to Germany to meet my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife. So that was like, I don't even know how many. It was probably like, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Wow,
5 years ago.
Dedication.
Yeah, but we have plans because because of all the COVID stuff going on, we weren't able to travel to Germany to see her family since she's been here. So it's been 3 years, and we'd really like to go this fall because now things are starting to get looser. Because I'm not going to keep a mask on a 2-year-old for 8-hour flight. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So that stuff's starting to fade away, and we want to go there, but I plan on streaming while I'm there because it's very detrimental as a streamer to take any extended period of time off.
Yep.
It's like taking 10 steps backwards, essentially.
Yeah.
So
as they say, nobody keeps your line, your place in line.
Right. Well, when you're a streamer specifically, if you're not live, you're gone. You don't exist.
Right.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, but what we'll do is I will have a setup over there in Germany, and I'll stream for like 4 hours a day, and then just hang out the rest of the time. Yeah, and that's totally fine. It's totally
it's work. You got to take your work with you,
right? And I'll bring clay, and I'll probably work on just wall hanger pieces, and either just sell them and then pay for the trip, or if they don't sell, use them for future giveaways. Because every month I do a giveaway. I make a piece for my community, to thank them for supporting me and stuff. So I just make something small and give it away to a random person in the community. So that's what the Tiki guy is a giveaway. He was the one.
Super cool.
Yeah. So
super cool. Mm-hmm. Well, let's close out with some of Christopher's work. I mean, this one is like, oh my gosh, super cool.
The eyes of dynamite.
That was another giveaway, that piece. Somebody said, because I like when they suggest things and we all brainstorm, come up with ideas. And someone mentioned doing a Skeksis owl, like a Skeksis drum. So that kind of led me down making this guy, like kind of like an owl, but a Skeksis owl. So,
wow.
Yeah. And then to make the eyes like that, that's a fairly new technique where I actually make the eye cavity with like a ball stylus, and then I paint it, and then I fill it with UV resin, and then lock it in place, and that creates that lensed effect. So I've been really liking that.
Yeah, then you get the reflection, from light, and that makes it look like an eye.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great effect.
Very cool. Yeah, just love all these heads that you make, and this next one is kind of similar, but was this one that was put to wood or
yeah? So all of them I sculpt on a piece of wood, but then I remove them afterwards, and then I create kind of like a wooden backer. See, it's like thinner plywood that I form fit to it. I cut it, sand it, create the keyhole, and then I put my logo, make it official there. So. That's this guy right there. This little peasant guy. But yeah, so I just like that professional finish all the way around, So
yeah,
I wasn't always like that. I actually didn't do that for a while, and then my wife was like, "You need to make the backs look good." I'm like, "Why? Nobody looks at them. It's just on a wall, So
but it also makes it also when
all part of it,
reveal that it's an authentic your work, right?
I remember we saw one unboxing video of somebody who bought a few wall hangers before I did the wooden backer, and you saw him. The first thing he did was he looked at the back, and I was just like, "Okay, we got."
Damn it!
Because I tend to be like a function. Even though I do a lot of form stuff, I'm a function thinker, So my thoughts are, well, you're hanging it on the wall and you never see the back ever again after that point. So why put time and energy into making the back look fancy? But it's a part of it. It's a presentation.
If you think about it, the owner of that is the only person that will see the back of it.
Exactly. Right. So that was my argument to bring to the table. But after seeing that video, I was like, no, it makes sense. It's an experience when somebody buys a piece of artwork. And so we even got into like making packaging nicer and fancier and stuff like that, more wizardly, because that's kind of my medieval fantasy theme, So we do we have like a little personalized letter from Hogwarts style type of envelope with the wax seal on it and everything like that. So it's all about presentation and creating not just a sculpture, but like an experience. So
right.
Yeah. This is the last one, but it's a variance of it. But I mean, like I said, like I could go through your stuff for a month and not find anything that looks similar to each other. So your work is so vast and so good. We would love to have you back on again, because I think we've only scratched the surface of like what you're doing. So we super appreciate you coming on. Your work is incredible. Guys, did you have any last words before we sign off for this week?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for coming on the show, first of all. It's fantastic. Thank you for showing all that great work, because now I can be inspired, because it's pretty damn awesome.
Thanks.
And as you know, we need reference because we don't use it. But yeah, like Mick said, we'd love to have you back, man. Maybe we can get you to sculpt a perishable item at some point. Maybe take the whale challenge.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I've carved some wood before, but I've never done carving one of those, or sand. So sometimes some sand, but
that goes away. That goes away.
Right. But no, I would do a squash. I think that'd be fun.
Sweet.
Be a fun exercise. I was actually planning on sculpting something, but I had a feeling I'd be more distracted with talking. So, and that's exactly what happened. So.
Yeah. Do you talk much during your streams, by the way? I mean, you're on all the time. I imagine people asking you questions, but you got to be in the zone, right, when you're carving or sculpting.
Well, it's like an ebb and flow of being in the zone and then coming out of the zone, reading chat, answering questions, and then going right back in. So it's like this back and forth.
Okay.
So it's different though. It's like lesser intensity than like being here with you guys and talking to you. Because it's a two-way road at that point. When it's reading chat,
right?
It's kind of like a one-way road, because I can read it at my leisure when it's convenient.
When you look up,
right? It'd be like you guys asking me a question and then me waiting like 15 minutes and then answering it. So it's like, it just doesn't work. Doesn't work from a talking type of format.
Yep.
So.
And I just saw something awesome on there. It says you can grow it in your garden and then carve it. So when you that's a perfect one. I mean, what the hell? You take it out of your own garden. I mean, it couldn't be more personal.
Maybe we should shoot for fall, and then I could carve one of my own.
Absolutely.
I got winter squash and spaghetti squash. I'm sure you guys don't carve those though, because they're really hollow on the inside.
We have.
Okay, acorn squashes. I got those growing.
Wow.
So all kinds of stuff.
Winter squash are usually the best.
Right. Yeah.
Heavy, thick. Yeah, dense. That's what you want.
And they're actually called winter squash because they last all winter, because they have the lowest sugar content of all the squashes, so they just don't go bad as fast. So
sure, like a Hubbard squash, it will last forever, or a Katsuta buko.
Is that a Hubbard squash? That's like a pumpkin, right? I've heard of them lasting like 2 years.
Yeah.
They do form kind of a calcified shell around the outside.
Yeah.
So when they're fresh, you can cut into them, but after about a month or so, they get this literally calcified that you have to crack away, but the inside is still viable and thick and beautiful. So it's awesome.
Yeah, great. I just recently learned about those squash, and they were bred specifically for shelf life. And they call it the survivalist food or squash because it lasts for forever. So
I've used a Sawzall to get the skin off before.
Oh, that is
kabocha squash.
Okay, that's a kabocha. The one I'm referring to is a Katsuka budo. It's a Japanese hybrid of the two squashes that we use. The one Mick showed, and then a butternut squash. It's literally a hybrid of those two. and same thing. They'll stay for 2-3 years if you store them right.
Right. That's cool.
But so from a carving perspective, they're so consistent in the material that they're dynamite to carve. They're just so hard to find.
Right. Have
Yeah,
you guys ever done melon, like watermelon before?
Yeah, once.
Never again.
Those are strange because I mean, obviously it's beautiful because you go green, white into red, so you can get some really cool looking things. But it is so wet when you get in there, it doesn't really hold detail, and then it doesn't scrape the same way on the outside that pumpkin does. It's a little spongy, kind of weird.
Okay.
You know, the rind is kind of weird, but
I just remember one time I went to Mexico and they had all these elaborate like watermelon sculptures, so it made me think of that. So
yeah, you know what it is? You can really only use like 2 tools. You can use a sharp knife, and then maybe one smaller ribbon loop tool, like one of these kind of shapes.
Okay.
And it's very tedious because it's water. It's
just
literally the loosest material ever. Yeah, I did one, and it was for the goof, and I guess it was fun. There are some incredible watermelon sculptors out there. I don't want to take away from it because there are some serious artists out there, but we can't do it, so screw it.
Stick to the squashes.
That's it. We're skating our ephemeral lane.
Maybe potatoes though, huh?
Potatoes are good. Little starchy. You end up with real chalky hands for whatever reason. Those are fun.
Yeah. Sweet potatoes. Yeah, those are fun.
They're good.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is where you can find us. We are Carvers and Creators. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Tell a friend. Let us come into your life every Thursday night. We live carve every Thursday, guys. Thanks again for all your carving, Christopher. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's been awesome, and we will see you next Tuesday for another Carvers and Creators.
Tuesday.
Did I say Tuesday? I meant Thursday.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't make
beaver is.
Yeah. Well, the beaver hit you right in the brain.
Next Thursday.
Yeah. Next Thursday, you guys were talking about, was it Gilly? What, I forget the dwarf's name.
Oh, Gimli.
Our guest next week had a pretty big hand in Gimli's design.
Oh, okay, cool, sweet.
Right, Mr. Acevedo?
And he comes from a land far away, New Zealand, from the Weta area. If that helps.
Yes.
Gino's
sweet.
back.
Okay.
Gino's back next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gino Acevedo. So if you guys are around, make sure you turn in next week for a really cool, fun show with the guy who pretty much designed Gollum.
Oh, I'll definitely be watching that.
He is an awesome guest. He is awesome. He's got the best stories. And hopefully the butternut squash I sent him 3 months ago to New Zealand arrived and is still intact. We'll get him to take the challenge.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks to all of our new Twitch homies out there. We appreciate you so much. We'll see you next Thursday for another Carvers and Creators. Take care, everyone. Good night.
See you guys.